Welcome to Session Sunday. Hi guys, it's Jack Edwards and today's session is going to be focusing on our receiving skills. But before we get into today's session, make sure to give us a like and subscribe, and if you missed last week's session, click on the link above. Okay, so looking at the first part of this week's session, we're going to be focusing solely on our receiving skills. Turning out when we receive the ball, how we receive the ball, the body position, our movement to receive, and a bit of a high intensity workout. So this week we've got 12 players. We can adapt the session for more or less players, but we've got them in groups of 3s at the minute. If you had more players, you might have to put them into groups of 4s, or if you had enough players to do another group of 3, that would be perfect. Even if you had maybe one person waiting after they've had their go in the middle, that could be their rest. In terms of equipment for this part of the session, all we need is balls and cones. So you need a ball for each team, so 4 balls here, and a cone for each player to work off. We're setting it up 10 yards apart for each cone, so we're just going 20 yards in the full depth for it. Obviously the width and that doesn't really matter, but make sure you give each group a few yards in between, obviously because players are moving, and if there isn't enough room and you both move to the same side, then they might collide into each other. So just give a bit of room in between each group so that they've got enough room to move around. So how we're going to start off with is a ball will start either side, doesn't really matter. The players will start in the middle behind the cone, so we want them to treat the cone as a defender. So when their player on the outside has got the ball, they will make a movement to the left or to the right to receive the ball. The player with the ball doesn't play the pass until that player has moved. So once they've moved, they're looking to play the ball in, receive on the back foot to open out, to then play the ball to the opposite player, and then move back in the middle, and then they're looking to move again to receive the ball. So this time they might go to the other side to receive it, control again on the back foot to open out, and then play. So we want it to be all in one motion. So as soon as that ball's played in, the touch takes us across the body and then able to pass straight away. So obviously we are just passing sideways at the moment, but it enables you to pass forwards as well, even to go back the other way. Whereas if we're controlling the ball with our back towards the play, we can only go back to the way we came from. So you could only go backwards, potentially sideways if somebody give you a shout, but we're looking to open up and go forward quickly with the ball. How we progress the session is that instead of just opening out and playing, the players got different options of what they want to do now. So this is where we bring the communication in our 4-corner model in the social side. So when the player plays the ball in, they might come in short to receive it and ask for a 1-2. So once they played that ball back, then they might spin out to create space again, and then the player plays the ball in and then they play into the next player. Or they might say miss me out. So when they go to play their 1-2, they might come wide to receive it, set it back, and then move out of the way for then a long pass to be played. So we're creating different type of movements as well. We're creating different passing situations. So we're getting a lot more communication. And then the players on the outside, they've got to be a bit more aware because they don't know when they're going to receive the ball, if the player's just going to turn and play, or they're going to do a 1-2. So there's a bit of movement involved for them as well. We will now move into our first animation before moving on to the next part of this week's session. Okay, so looking at this week's 4-corner model, starting off with technical and tactical, we're starting off by looking at the body position of the players. So we spoke a lot about in previous sessions about having a closed body when you're receiving the ball. That's not what we want to do, as it limits our options. So we want to have an open body, so we want to be able to see where the ball's coming from and where we want the ball to go. As it opens our options to where we're going to pass, we're able then to change our mind. We can see what's going on around us, whereas if we're just facing one way, we can't see what's behind us, we can't really see what's to the side of us, and we're limiting our options with the pass. So it's making sure that the players know that they can, when they receive the ball, they need to be able to turn and go one way, or they've got the option to go back or go forwards as well. So looking at our first touch needs to be good and in front of our body. So we want to make sure that when that first touch is getting played in, we're taking that touch in front so we can then run onto the ball, not getting it stuck in our feet, not for it too far, not it being too far away from us, making sure that that first touch, when it comes in, is away so we can get onto the ball and play a nice powerful pass, not having to take another touch, which means it's easy for the opposition to catch us up. If that first touch is really good, then it already know where we're going to play our pass, and it helps the players who's going to receive it know that they're going to get the ball. Movement to receive, so obviously in part 1, what we've just seen then, lots of movement to receive the ball, lots of different variations and movements, which we're going to see now in part 2 and then in part 3 as well. So we need to make sure that our movement is hard for the opposition to read, so that we're not just standing in one place. We're not just moving to the same area all the time. We're using double movements. We're coming in to receive and then we're going out to receive. But this is where communication has got to come involved as well. But we also can't just stand still and wait for the ball. We've got to move. We've got to recognise where the space is and where the ball might be as well. And then finally, scanning our surroundings. So making sure that we know the space that's around us. So before you receive the ball, can you have a look over your shoulder, either side, to make sure that, you know, right, there's a defender coming here, so I know what way I'm going to take the ball. Or there's a defender coming this side and this side, so I know I'm going to have to protect the ball, maybe bounce it back, and then get out and create space for somebody else to come into. Moving on to psychological, so awareness, obviously with scanning our surroundings, awareness of the space around us, making sure that we know when to go into a certain space, when to leave that space and go find somewhere new to obviously help your teammates as well who might be looking to find a different space. Concentration and focus. So when we're working obviously in part one, we need to make sure that our psychological side of our game is switched on constantly, because it is intense. The players are working for a minute or so at a high intensity. So making sure that we're focused and we're remembering the basics that we're trying to do in the session. And then decision making, so making sure that we know that what passes we're going to play, where we're going to move afterwards, are we making the right decision, are we making it at the right time as well, can we hold on to the ball a little bit longer, or do we need to play faster to get in and around the opposition a bit easier. Now moving on to the physical side of this week's session, endurance. So there is a lot of high intensity work, so making sure that you can last for that minute, that 90 seconds in the middle, making sure that your levels and your quality doesn't go down and your first touch isn't getting affected, your scanning your shoulders isn't getting affected. So your physical side is got to be high, so that the psychological, the social and the technical and tactical sides are still shining as well. And then power to drive with the ball. So we're speaking about our first touch and our ball control. So when we receive the ball, can we get the power to drive with the ball if we're going to dribble, and drive a pass into somebody as well. And then moving into the social corner, again, we're talking about communication. The player who's receiving the ball, can they get information from the player who is passing it? Can you tell them time? Can you tell them man on? Can you tell them maybe player 1-2? And then the person who's receiving it, where do you want the ball? Do you want it to your left foot? Do you want it to your right foot? Do you want it in front of you? Where are you going to be? Where are you going to receive the ball? And then also encouraging your teammates. Obviously, when the intensity levels are going to be high, when players are tired, they need a bit of encouragement to keep on going. So lots of praise, lots of support and good positive reinforcement. Okay, so now moving into part two of this week's session, we're working on our receiving skills, and then we're going to gradually make it a more possession-based game with the same type of focus on our receiving skills. So we've got 6 reds and 6 blues now, so now we just need to bring some bibs into the session, as well as just balls and cones. So 2 reds will start with a ball and 2 blues will start with a ball. And then each team's got 2 players in the middle. These are the players that are going to be working for 1 minute. So to start off with, the reds can only receive the ball from the reds and the blues can only receive the ball from the blues. So there's always going to be 2 options for them to pass to. So they receive the ball from one of their teammates, look to open out, find some space and then pass to somebody who hasn't got a ball. Same with the blues. Then after 1 minute, we will look to swap them over. So you've got 3 groups of 2 in each team. So you can just split it into 3. So after 3 minutes, you swap them and then we move on and you can bring in the next progression. Or you can do it a couple of times if the players are struggling to get used to it, so it gives them more time to adapt to it as well. In terms of the setup for this part of the session, we've got 20 by 20 box, but it's split a bit different. So the 2 end boxes are 6 by 6 and the 2 middle boxes are 8 by 8. So there's a bit more room in the middle for the players to move a little bit. So it's not too tight because we've got 4 players moving in there. So they've got a chance to move and receive the ball. But it's also, you know, it's bringing out the good parts of our 4-corner model, whereas they're not getting tackled by people, but if they don't scan the shoulders and they're not moving to receive the ball and they're not opening out and they're not talking as well, then they're going to bump into people. It's going to be chaotic in there. So it's important to remember all the things that we've spoken about. We will now move into our next animation before moving on to the first progression. Okay, so the first progression for this part of the drill, all we're changing up is that when the players receive the ball in the middle, whatever coloured team they receive the ball from, they then have to pass to the opposition team, so they can receive off anybody now from the start. So it's the same concept, 4 players in the middle, looking to receive the ball from a player from the outside. So if a red here's got the ball and they play into a blue, that blue must recognise then that their next pass has got to be a player in blue. So it's making them a bit more aware in the psychological side as well. Lots of talking's got to be made as well. And then obviously the movement to receivers, and if I'm receiving it off that red player there and I want to play out to one of these two players, where's my body position going to be? Where's my first touch going to take me? So it's a simple progression, but it's also when the players get tired, making sure that they're still switched on psychologically so that they're making the right decisions. We will now move into our next animation before moving on to the final progression of this part of the session. Okay, so moving into the final progression of this part of the session. So we now took all of the lines outside of the middle box out. So now it's more of a possession-based game. So the coach is going to start with the ball. The players in the middle are locked into where they are, but then players are going to switch over after a few minutes so that each player, so like they were in the groups before, is having a go in the middle. So the coach will play into one of the teams, so the Reds here. The aim for them to score a goal, you must play into the middle box and play out. So you're looking to play through and then play out. So as if we're playing through the thirds, really. So then the aim for the players who don't have the ball is cutting the options. It's a 4v4 outside of the box. So we need lots of movements, lots of rotation of movements so that players are coming in, going out. There's lots of space. So making sure you know where the ball is. So where's the space where the ball is? Where can I go? How can I ask for the ball? So we're bringing in all the communication side, the movement to receive, our first touch. Can our first touch enable us to take it away from somebody, play into the middle? Can they turn and play out? So we look at the goal scoring system. You could score 5 goals in 10 passes. So it's all down to the opposition and to stop you from scoring. So it's also being able to build your possession up to then create gaps, move the ball quickly to create gaps, move the opposition about. So then you can find a gap in here to play and then play out. And then when the opposition win it back, can you transition to stop them playing into the middle? So you're happy for them to maybe knock it around, stopping them playing through and playing out, because that's a goal. So as in a game, if the centre-back's got it and they're playing through to the centre midfielder, who then turns on the ball and plays through to the winger, so they've played through the thirds quite easily. So you want to try and make it difficult for them. So that's a challenge you can set the players who are out, who haven't got the ball. How can we stop the opposition from playing through? Where can we show them? And then the players who have got the ball, we want to move the ball quickly, create gaps and play through and then try and score. We will now move into the next animation before moving on to the final part of this week's session. Okay, so moving into the final part of this week's session, we're moving into a more possession-based type of game, but we're still working on our receiving skills because we're looking to open out and turn and go the other way to score. So now we've got 4v4 in the middle with 2 players on the outside from each team. The setup for this part of the session is simple again. It's a 20 by 20 box with no boxes or anything in the middle, so you can keep your setup from the last drill and just take your boxes out in the middle, which is easier, so you don't have to take your time and stop the session and give the players something to do. You can go straight into it. So the 2 players on the outside, they can swap with their players in the middle whenever they want. So if a player plays into one of them, they can instantly take the ball in and swap. And it's a good time for them to get a bit of rest as well. And they are there for a reason, to try and score. So the aim of the game is for the players to score, they must get it from one side to the other. So if coach plays into the Blues are not knocking it about. They can use this player here as a high option, a deep option, sorry. And they can keep playing the ball. They're trying to work gaps, to play through, and then play to their teammate. That's a goal. And then they're looking to go to the other way. So after that goal, this player might come out, and then that player might go in behind the line, get a bit of rest, and also it's providing lots of different transitions for the players as well to know when are they going to swap over and when are they just going to stay the same. Are they just going to go the exact same way again? So the thing for the red team who don't have the ball is stop them from scoring, make it hard for them. Can we win the ball back? When we win it back, use the players on the outside to secure possession. So that's good because they're going to be unopposed. The players can't go outside the zone. And then when we've got good movement, when we've got space to receive the ball, can we play in? Can we play nice intricate passes, play through the Blues, and then score ourselves? And then we can change over again. So it's making sure that there's lots of changes going on. The players aren't staying on the outside for too long. When players are tired, get your rest out there. And then when you come in, are you going to work hard for that 2-3 minutes that you're going to be in the middle for? So obviously with our receiving skills now, the players aren't unopposed. They can get tackled, so they've got to be a lot more aware of their surroundings. That first touch has got to be better. They've got to know where the options are on the pitch. So if they've only got one option, can they look to their body position then to open out and then see where other players are on the pitch? If you can only see one player, you need to be able to open out. If you can see everything in front of you and everything around you, then you've got the options to do to pass the ball or to take it in to create a bit of space for somebody else to take the opposition out of their position to then pass the ball. So it's recognising all the space around us, being aware, and then making the right decision at the end of that. We will now move into our next animation before moving on to the final progression of this week's session. Okay, so moving into the progression for this part of the drill, now it's 6v6 in the middle, so now the players have got to be a lot more aware of the space around them. It's going to be hard for them to create space, so they've got to make sure that that body position is perfect so that they can open out and play, because there's not going to be many times they can do it. So there is got to be a lot of communication, there is got to be a lot of awareness of the space around them. To score now, the players just have to receive the ball past the line. So if we play into the reds and they just receive it back here, that's fine, but obviously to get a goal, you have to receive behind both boxes. So the players can come out here to get it unopposed and then play straight back in. So you might play straight back in, create some space out here, and then we're looking to play through and then find them runs and then play through there. So there's our goal. So we're breaking the lines as well through midfield, through the final third to receive the ball. So we're looking to play nice intricate passes, find some space and then play through, and then obviously we'll look to penetrate the opposition. Obviously what we spoke about last week in terms of attacking, and then in the final third being decisive in those moments as well. And when they receive the ball here, they can just go and straight attack the other side, which means that once they've scored in both sides here, every side that they go to is a goal. So when you first receive the ball, just playing over the line doesn't get you a goal. It means that, right, you've secured possession now look to go and attack the other side. And obviously once you've scored in the opposite way, every time you score, here is another goal. So then the thing for the Blues is, we're not going to be attacking the same way. So the Reds are still attacking this way and the Blues are still attacking that way. So when the Blues win it back, can we instantly get over the line? Right, we've secured possession. Can people get into space? Can we play through in here? Can we get the runs? And then can we score ourselves? So there's lots of transitions. So when you lose the ball, your shape is going to be different. You're going to be facing the other way because the other team's attacking the opposite way to you. So there's lots of different angles going on. So there's lots of different body positions as well. And then obviously the movement to receive has got to be, can you come in? Can you go out? Can you create space for somebody else to drop into? So that's where the communication comes into somebody as well. The time and the man on is massive, because if there's limited space, the players need to know what exactly they can do with the ball. We will now move into our final animation before concluding this week's session. Thanks for watching this week's session. For more content, follow me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. The links will be in the description below, and we'll see you next week for another Session Sunday.